Fusion Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
Tissues and supporting system. Skeleton and supporting system in animals. A question may be asked, what is a skeleton? The skeleton is the body framework of the body, supporting and protecting the soft tissues and organs. Movement in animals is possible with the skeleton and impossible without the skeleton. Biological significance. 1. The skeleton and supporting tissues help the animals in going about fending for themselves. 2. It is a measure of advancement and development as well as evolutionary position of a given organism. Example: a man stands upright with a more sophisticated skeletal build-up than a cockroach, which has an external support only. Forms of skeleton and supporting tissues. These forms of skeleton and supporting tissues depend on 3 things. 1. Level of development. 2. Ecological niche. And 3. The habitat of the organisms. These 3 forms include 1. Cuticles, 2. Bones, and 3. Cartilages. The cuticles. They contain a waxy substance called chitin, which is located externally. This type of exoskeleton is called cuticular. Example is found in arthropods. The bones. It is a form of tissue in the skeletal system of higher animals. Example: man and all other vertebrates. It has calcium phosphate as its main constituent. Joints contain some cartilages. The bones contain softer cartilages called osteoblasts, as well as spaces filled with blood vessels and nerves called Haversian canals after the describer. The cartilage. This is a tissue found in the skeleton of complex vertebrates. It consists of living cells, carbohydrates, and protein fibers. It is a tough and flexible tissue that has great tensile strength. The differences between bones and cartilages are actually significant in the following ways. 1. Bone is made up of living and non-living cells, while cartilage is made up of mainly living cells. 2. It is not flexible, especially in adults, while cartilages are flexible both in adults and young ones. 3. Bones are made up of mainly mineral salts, and cartilages are not made up of mineral salts. 4. Bones are made up of hard substances, while cartilages are made up of soft substances. 5. Bones are never replaced by a cartilage, but cartilages can be replaced by a bone. There are types of skeletons. These include 1. Exoskeleton, 2. Endoskeleton, and 3. Hydrostatic skeleton. The endoskeleton. This means the possession of external skeletal tissues that enclose, protect, support, and mobilize the organism. It equally gives the animal shape. Examples are as follows. Euglena and Paramecium have pellicles. Arthropods have chitinous outer coverings. Arachnids and snails have chitins and cells respectively. For endoskeleton, this means the internal skeletal tissues made up of bones and cartilages joined together by ligaments and tendons. Animals with backbones are referred to as vertebrates. Examples are man, dog, cats, lions, monkeys, etc. 3. Hydrostatic skeleton. This is a type of skeleton possessed by soft body organisms. Example: earthworm. It is made up of fluid that keeps the body turgid and maintains characteristic shape of that animal. The mammalian skeletal system. The mammalian skeletal system is made up of two major parts. These include 1. Axial skeleton and 2. Appendicular skeleton. The axial skeleton. This comprises the skull, the vertebral column or backbone, the ribs, and the sternum or breastbone. For the appendicular skeleton, this is made up of the limb girdles, that is the pectoral and pelvic girdles, and the limbs, that is the forelimb and the hind limb. The bones of the skulls are jointed by joints called sutures. In humans, there are 33 vertebrae. These bones are held to one another by strong ligaments. In between consecutive vertebrae are compressible cartilage pads known as intervertebral discs, which allow the vertebrae to move slightly. Its procession include cervical vertebrae, thoracic vertebrae, lumbar vertebrae, sacral vertebrae, caudal vertebrae. The cervical vertebrae is found in the neck region. 2. The thoracic vertebrae is found in the chest region. 3. The lumbar vertebrae is found in the upper abdomen. 4. The sacral vertebrae is found in the lower abdomen. And lastly, the caudal vertebrae is found in the tail region. The vertebrae. There are features of a typical vertebrae. 1. Neural canal. This is for the passage of the spinal cord. 2. The neural spine. This projects upward dorsally for the attachment of muscles. 3. Transverse process. They project from the sides of each vertebrae for the attachment of muscles and ligaments. 4. Centrum. It is a solid piece of bone below the neural canal. 5. Large flattened spine. It has a large flattened neural spine. 6. The transverse process is reduced to a pin structure. 7. It has a vertebraterial canal. 8. Zyapophysis. These are articular surface for the articulation of successive vertebrae. They are grouped into two parts. The presygapophysis facing inwards and upwards, and postzygapophysis facing outward and downward. The composition of the vertebral column of a human rabbit and rat actually differ. The cervical vertebrae. In man, there are 7. The first is called the atlas, while the second is the axis. The third to the seventh are nominal cervical bones. The atlas. The atlas vertebrae has a large neural canal. 2. It has a flat and broad transverse process. 3. The neural spine is very short or absent. 4. The centrum is absent. 5. It has a vertebraterial canal for the passage of blood vessels. The function of the atlas is that it allows the head to nod on it and fits into the occipital condyles of the skull. As for the axis, it has the following features. 1. It has a broad and flat centrum. 2. It articulates with the atlas through odontoid process. 3. It has a large flattened neural spine. 4. It has a vertebraterial canal. Its function is that it allows the head to be turned easily. For the thoracic vertebrae, this vertebrae is found in the chest region. In man, they are 12 in number. Its characteristics include the following. 1. It has long and prominent neural spine which projects upward and backwards. 2. A pair of short transverse process. 3. There is presence of demifacets and articular surfaces for attachment of ribs. 4. it has a large neural canal. 5. Large centrum is also present. Its functions include the following. 1. The thoracic vertebrae aids the attachment of the ribs. 2. The muscles of the shoulder and back are attached to neural spines. 3. It assists in breathing alongside with the ribs. The lumbar vertebrae. This vertebrae is found in the upper abdominal region. In man, they are in 5 numbers. Its characteristics include the following. 1. It has a large flattened transverse process. 2. It has broad and flat neural spine. 3. It has large and thick centrum. 4. Projections of anapophysis and metapophysis. 5. There is well-developed prezygapophysis and post-zygapophysis. Its functions include the following. 1. It provides attachment to abdominal muscles. And 2. They bear considerable weight of the body. The sacral vertebrae. This vertebrae is found in the lower abdominal region. In man, they are 5 in number. They fuse together to form a sacrum. Its characteristics include: a sacral vertebrae has a narrow neural canal. 2. It has a neural spine which is reduced to a small notch. 3. It has a large centrum. Its functions include: 1. They give support, they give rigidity, and they give strength to the abdominal cavity. The appendicular skeleton. The appendicular skeleton is made up of the following parts. 1. Pectoral girdle, that is holding forelimbs. 2. The pelvic girdle, and 3. The hind limbs. The pectoral girdles are made up of 2 flat triangular bones, that is scapula and clavicles. The pelvic girdle is made up of 2 identical bones and are joined together at the pubic symphysis. They are ilium, pubis, and ischium. The joints. A joint is formed where 2 or more bones meet. Types of joints. We have 1. Movable joints and 2. Immovable joints. For movable joints, they are of 4 kinds. 1. The ball and socket joints. 2. The hinge joints. 3. The pivot joints. And 4. The gliding joints. 1. The ball and socket joints. These joints allows free movement and are found in pectoral and pelvic areas. 2. The hinge joint. The hinge joint allows movement in only one direction, and they are found in the elbow and knee joints. 3. The pivot joint. This joint allows movement such as nodding. Example: underjoined region of atlas and axis, where one bone moves round another. And 4. The gliding joint. This joint allows just slight movement. Example: the wrist and the ankles. One glides over the next. The immovable joints. Examples of immovable joints are the skull, that is cranium sutures, and joints in the centrum. Others are joints between the sacrum and the pelvis, and those between the sacral vertebrae. The parts of the joints. The parts of the joints include: 1. Tendon. 2. Ligaments. 3. Cartilage. 4. Synovial membrane. 5. Synovial fluid. 1. Tendon. The tendon connects muscles to tissues. They are extension of connective tissues which surround the muscles. They transmit the pull of muscle to bones. They are non-elastic. This differentiates them from ligaments. Ligaments. They hold bones together in a joint. They are able to accommodate movements at the joints due to their elastic nature. This differentiates them from tendons. 3. The cartilage. This cushions bones by protecting them from wear and tear during movement. An example is the biscuit bone. 4. Synovial membrane. This secretes synovial fluid. It is responsible for the secretion of synovial fluid. The synovial fluid. This lubricates the joints by reducing shock as well as friction between two bones. There are different types of supporting tissues in plants. 1. Collenchyma. 2. Sclerenchyma. 3. Wood or xylem. 4. Parenchyma. The collenchyma. Their thickness is about 3 to 4 cells. They are small, tightly packed cells and are thickened at the corners. This gives the stem strength. They photosynthesize since they contain chloroplast. Example, stem of sunflower. The sclerenchyma is made up of dead cells whose walls are uniformly thickened. The walls are made up of lignin. This gives support to the plant. 3. Wood or xylem. They are made up of dead cells coupled with lignified walls. They contain elements like tracheids. 2. Vessels or tracheae. 3. Wood fibers. And 4. Wood parenchyma. Lastly, the parenchyma. The cells of a parenchyma are large, thin-walled, contain air spaces. They are called packing or ground tissues. Mechanism of support in plants. The collenchyma, due to its elasticity and flexibility or moldability or plasticity, it withstands the bending or twisting of young plants which are exposed. The sclerenchyma, however, its fibers give the necessary strength, rigidity, flexibility, elasticity and protection to plants, thereby fortifying them for mechanical function. The wood or xylem. Its woody nature supplies the needed support, strength and shape due to the presence of lignin. As for the parenchyma, it supports soft, fleshy plants by giving them the needed rigidity and firmness, example in herbaceous plants. There are uses of fibers to plants. 1. All fibers give strength and support to plants. 2. They serve mechanical functions when they grow older. 3. They protect the fragile parts of the plant. 4. They are sclerenchymatous in nature. 5. Such functions are rigidity, flexibility, and elasticity. 6. When they are associated with wood or xylem, they are known as wood fibers. Skeletons, however, have functions in animals and they include the following. 1. Skeleton render the following functions. 1. Support or framework makes movement possible. 2. Protection. Delicate organs are protected, example the brain. 3. Locomotion. Pentadactyl pattern of limbs enhances movement, especially in higher animals. 4. Respiratory movements like breathing are accomplished with the aid of ribs. And 5. Production of blood. Some bone marrows are known to help in the production of red blood cells. Supporting tissues have the following functions in plants. 1. Strength. 2. Rigidity. 3. Protection. 4. Flexibility. 5. Xylem conducts water and mineral salts. 6. At times they photosynthesize.